it represents the steps that have been taken to get to where the Pride community is being accepted, where we have our rights to love who we want to love.
So I want to thank New Brunswick for making something like owning a home for people like me seem possible.
We started to dip down at that time because we couldn't offer any new types of activities.
Welcome to This Week Uncut, where we take a look at the top stories of the week from CHCO-TV and The Courier. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
We begin this week with Charlotte County Pride. Always it's so fun to say, exciting week here in Charlotte County. It's become that now. The official kickoff was Wednesday night over in St. Stephen at the corner of King and Milltown Boulevard, where the Rainbow Crosswalk that I know was initiated last year. We were supposed to do the unveiling last year, but we got rained out, so we saved it for this year. This is the rainbow after the storm, so to speak. So it was really beautiful to be there for the official kickoff. However, the unofficial kickoff was Tuesday night right here at CHCO, where we had Pride Bingo, so always fun to be a part of the festivities.
What a colorful space it was here. I had to go for a meeting, but I left and there was flags everywhere, rainbow flags everywhere, so it was a wonderful celebration of the queer community.
I was going to say, our bingo wheel's already the colors of the rainbow, so our bonus wheel at bingo night, so we had to add, I don't know how much more color we can get onto TV bingo, but it was a fun way to bring CHCO and the work we do here into the Pride celebrations as well and show our solidarity. It was very beautiful, though, to be Wednesday night in St. Stephen for the crosswalk unveiling. I want to show you that Robert Tinker, who was key in getting the crosswalk at Milltown and King, gave me a piece of the ribbon that was cut. So I don't know if you can see at home, but this is a rainbow-colored ribbon that we cut at the crosswalk. And also there were Mayor Alan McEachran, Councillor Emily Rodas, Councillor Mark Harding. Mark Harding was key in getting this crosswalk installed in the community.
Yeah, I remember several weeks ago the council was discussing the crosswalk policy. Many different groups want crosswalks that represent their different causes. I think it was spurred out of a desire for a Remembrance Day crosswalk. But I remember Mark saying she was very adamant that the rainbow crosswalk be protected, and she would be very upset if anything happened to it. So she's been a strong supporter of that crosswalk for a very long time.
Mark Harding is known for standing for what she believes in. I know in her interview with The Courier, she told me that she said, "I believe love is love. I believe everyone should be able to love who they want to love, and I will stand for that always." So really beautiful conversation with Mark this week. I also got to speak with Councillor Emily Rodas, who said when she was growing up, she wished, and she's only in her early 30s now, she wished she had something like this because it really is symbolic of the community standing together.
Crosswalks are really simple things that people can do, and communities can do, and municipalities can do to show other people that they're accepted and loved and valued in their community. You don't have to move mountains, but you could paint a crosswalk.
Now, if you do check out the article in The Courier, I do want to point out there's a fun photo in it, and it's a tribute to the Beatles, too. It's a nod to the Beatles, the famous Abbey Road portrait of the four Beatles crossing the street. This one, though, we recreated it in rainbow colors on the rainbow crosswalk, and it features Mark Harding, Robert Tinker, and then the co-chairs of Charlotte County Pride. That's Tracy Matheson and Todd Ross, and we had them walking across like the Beatles across the rainbow, and just to pay tribute to the people who really helped make this reality. But I also had the chance to speak with Tracy Matheson at the crosswalk unveiling to talk a little bit about why this is so important. What seems like a small gesture, as you point out, these small gestures can have really big impact, especially in small communities. And what she said was really beautiful. She talked about the metaphor of taking steps, but how we can also take those steps backwards, which is a big reason why a lot of the Pride festivities this year are taking place in St. Stephen. Because we are right there beside the U.S. border, we've seen rights sometimes be taken away. And so it shows you that progress isn't something that is necessarily guaranteed as we walk into the future. It's something that can be taken away if we aren't vigilant. Here is our interview with Tracy Matheson at the crosswalk unveiling at Milltown Boulevard and King Street in St. Stephen.
Well, you know, it represents the steps that have been taken to get to where the Pride community is being accepted, where we have our rights to love who we want to love and live how we want to live. We just want to be accepted. We're no different than anybody else. We just, you know, have a little more flavor in our life, right?
You gave a really beautiful speech for people who weren't here in person to hear it. Tell us a little bit about what message you wanted to get across with the words you shared today.
Well, I think it's basically, I'm proud of the changes and the growth that St. Stephen has had. You know, growing up here in the 80s, being different was not exactly a popular or really in some aspects a safe place. But we've grown, we've changed. I mean, we have a crosswalk now, a Pride crosswalk, and it represents the steps that we've taken to get here and the steps that we still have to keep taking, especially now more than ever. People in our community and the Pride community, we need to hold fast to our rights and look out for each other, because we just have to look across that bridge and you can see what's happening. So this year more than ever, Pride needs to happen and everybody needs to celebrate it.
I know that as a member of the Charlotte County Pride Committee, you made a very determined effort this year to make sure the parade was held here in St. Stephen, where, again, like you mentioned, we're right across the border. We're visible right now to people in Maine. Why was that important to you to make sure it was here in a place that actually matters to both sides of the border?
To show that we're here and we support them. We're not blind. We see what's happening. And when we take steps like across the crosswalk or in our parade or the other events, we have to do this in recognition and solidarity for the people who are scared right now to be who they are. And that's wrong. And I want to be part of a community that says, no, we are who we are. We celebrate love, we celebrate diversity, and we're going to keep fighting for that. Peacefully, but we're going to do that here in Charlotte County.
Beyond Charlotte County Pride, you even did this winter when you initiated Lights Across the Border. For people who missed that event, take us back to what that was and why that was important for you to do.
That was that was right after Trump got elected and he started his purge. And the LGBT plus flags were taken down and the nightmares started in the States. And it was heartbreaking, you know, to see people scared in one of the greatest countries, you know, our neighbors, kind of like our family. And what can you do? We're not political, we can't vote Trump out. So I just wanted to show with a little flashlight that, hey, we're here, we see you, we care. And I think one of the most, I'll never forget it, was when, and you were there with me, when we saw those lights come on across the border. It was really emotional. And we just have to keep supporting people. Small ways, but it's there.
Honestly, that was one of the biggest moments of my year, seeing that light come back. And I do love your metaphor of the steps we take, because we can also take them backwards if we're not careful. Are you proud, though, to see what you've seen Charlotte County Pride become finally at this day and age, where it began with maybe just a one-day event to what it is now, a full week of Pride and across the whole county?
I love it. I'm so proud of Charlotte County Pride. I'm thankful for the experience that it's given me. I've met so many phenomenal people, and you know, we're growing and we're going to keep growing, right? So yeah, I'm proud. It's kind of like watching your little ones grow up and take their first steps. So I'm happy, excited, and hopeful for more things to come.
That was Tracy Matheson, the co-chair of Charlotte County Pride. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with This Week Uncut.
And this is part of our initiative across the province to provide safe, affordable housing for families who are ready to make that transition to affordable home ownership.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth.
It was a big week for affordable housing in Charlotte County.
Very exciting. You and Aidan were quite busy, not just here in St. Andrews, but also in Eastern Charlotte. Talk a little bit first about what you experienced here in St. Andrews.
Yeah, so Carolyn Davies invited us to go to a property behind the Picket Fence Motel that was donated by Sue and Vern Lister, the owners of that motel, to look at the project the Passamaquoddy Lodge Foundation is working on for affordable housing. So talk to me a little bit about what Carolyn hopes to see on that land.
Well, she hopes to see affordable housing for seniors and for the workers working at the lodge. I think that was the major point of contention where she was trying to get people to work at the lodge, but it was just the rent just wasn't affordable in St. Andrews to keep the workers here in the community, and so that is what this housing project is looking to achieve, and hopefully that will get underway soon. But really at this meeting here was she was looking to show the project to the minister responsible for housing in New Brunswick, David Hickey, and hoping to secure a little bit of funding. It's still not secured right now, but yeah, here's my interview with Carolyn Davies.
So the project is, Passamaquoddy Lodge has had difficulty recruiting and retaining staff because of the high cost of rentals and purchasing homes in the St. Andrews area. So we have been offered a donation of land that we could build some affordable housing to use to house staff. And we also will allocate some of the units as subsidized housing for seniors who would like to stay in the community but can't afford to find a affordable rental. So we're looking at doing that. You have the minister here in part is because of the funding that is available for not-for-profits or for even for-profit organizations to try and get affordable housing, build affordable housing. So we're hoping to explain to him what it is we're trying to do as a not-for-profit organization and what this would mean to us as an employer, or the Passamaquoddy Lodge as an employer, and to the community at large. And also that maybe give him a chance to find out what we're trying to do with the nursing home replacement also. So as he's on executive council and it will be going before them.
And has the province committed funding to supporting the project?
Not at this point, no.
What would that funding mean to the development?
It would mean we could finalize the design. We could look at fixing up the road so that we would have it become a public road versus private. And we could start getting CMHC funding and funding from some other sources to do the actual build next year.
And the timeline you said would be starting to build next year?
2026, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think it's a tremendous opportunity, and I think that the minister will be impressed with what volunteers in this community like to do.
That was my interview with Carolyn Davies, a member of the board for the Passamaquoddy Lodge Foundation.
So Aidan, you were also there with the minister and you got to have a chat with him. Was there any sort of commitment to the project given that they are seeking support from the New Brunswick Housing Corporation?
No, not at this time. It's still in the really early stages. This land was only donated back in June. So it's still in the early stages of this project, but there has been no commitment as of yet. This is the type of project that the New Brunswick Housing Corporation would be interested in, but I asked for clarification or some confirmation, and there wasn't any at this date. But this is the first time the minister was there, so it's likely to stay tuned for announcements on that. But here's my interview with Minister Hickey.
We recognize that there's significant housing need, especially in rural communities throughout Charlotte County, but also across the province. That have really significant need that has gone unaddressed in affordable housing for a long time. Projects like the proposed one behind me, a couple that we toured in Blacks Harbour as well today, show the opportunity for that local investment led by tremendous nonprofit leaders and volunteers who have stepped up to do something for the community. It's our job to make sure that we're there to back them up and continue to fund important projects like this.
And has the province committed funding to support this project?
Not yet. So that's part of the process. We've got to come up with those operational spends over the next few years. So we want to continue to make sure that we're a partner in any of them. As to when our funding comes in, those are the details that we'll work out.
And you mentioned that there's kind of two factors to the problem with providing affordable housing for seniors. What are those factors, and how is the province kind of reformulating how they address them?
Well, I think the big thing for us is assessing local need and really responding in partnership with whoever the local community on the ground, whether it be municipal council, nonprofit organizations, whomever, to assess the need and make sure we're addressing that as best we can. In this case, there's identified need for seniors housing in the community, so we want to make sure that there's a reflection of the projects that we're proposing and the projects that we're getting on board with that are reflecting the local need. Seniors in particular present an opportunity for us to better scope the funding that we're making available. So that'd be things like finding flexibility in our affordability measures, which are traditionally pretty rigid, to be able to make sure that it fits to that need locally.
Okay. And how many more projects like this do you see happening across the province?
How many would I like to see, or how many do I see? I mean, the challenge is always, how much we can resource based on what we have, and the capacity in community is a big one too, right? I mean, obviously some of the major challenges in our labor market and our construction capacity, especially in smaller communities like this one, it gives us opportunities to invest in modular. I was just up in Miramichi yesterday announcing new modular units that we just finished there. So using those opportunities to address that capacity will fill the need of what I'd like to do. But look, we haven't invested in housing in a meaningful way in this province in 4 decades almost. It's led to the degradation of the public housing that we do own in communities like this. It's also led to a lack of investment in nonprofit organizations. It's led to a lack of investment in our own housing. That's a deep hole to dig ourselves out of. It means that the 13,000 person wait list that we have in this province for public housing or nonprofit housing is very real and a very big challenge for us to overcome. That means governments need to get serious about the kind of investment they're making in housing, which is why I'm happy that I was able to get an 18% increase in our budget this year to be able to do that work more meaningfully. But that's the challenge that we're up against. We're up against 40 years of neglect, and we've got to come out of that in a really strong way. And I think we've demonstrated a lot of that, but it's not gonna happen overnight.
That was my interview with Minister David Hickey in St. Andrews. But my housing day this week continued over into St. George, where Habitat for Humanity was dedicating a single-family home to Stephanie Scott and her daughter Brooklyn. And and all sorts of folks from Mayor John Craig were there. The MLA for the region, Ian Lee, was also present, as well as Minister David Hickey. That was quite a nice event.
And it gives people an idea too of how our lives and news stories come together. Sometimes we get an email from the province. I think this one came on the eve of the announcement, saying there's a housing announcement in Eastern Charlotte this week. So we can only assume what it is prior to getting there, but quite an exciting event. What was the vibe like at the announcement, and what did you learn?
It was quite emotional for Stephanie, as you can imagine, going from. She was talking to me a little bit about the situation that she was in beforehand, and it wasn't totally secure as most people renting in the province experience, but this now gives her family a chance to have a secure home, and Habitat for Humanity really stepped up here. But I find the glaring thing for me that I saw at this meeting was how many people it takes to solve the issue of housing in the province. You had the Habitat for Humanity that was involved in the construction and providing the appliances and stuff like that, but it also took the municipality to donate that lot and funding from the province. This solving housing takes many, many people, and that I found exemplary in the dedication. And we were all in our living room, and there was many different levels of government and as well other organizations that helped provide housing.
Habitat for Humanity does some incredible work. It's, I think, a name that people across the country, maybe even around the world, are familiar with.
Yeah, and Aiden was looking through the interviews, and I said, that's Perry Kendall, the person who largely operates Habitat for Humanity. He works based out of Fredericton, but he does a lot of Southwest New Brunswick as well. So, what did Stephanie have to say about this property?
Yes, I did get the opportunity to talk to Stephanie about what this meant, and she really just had a lot of gratitude to give to the community. So here's my interview with Stephanie Scott. Perfect. And can you tell me how long the kind of process was to get into this home?
I think I put the application in the end of January, and I got a phone call saying it would be awarded to me the 1st of May. Yeah, no, they helped a lot. If I needed them here, they come here. If I needed to meet them, they were more than willing to accommodate me in any way. They made the whole process really easy. So getting in and doing what had to be done, it came out really well.
And would you kind of promote this project to other municipalities to get involved and start participating?
This helps so much. Now I have like the stability to have a home that I don't have to worry about leaving. It's ours, and I can make it my own now. Whereas when you rent, you don't know if they're gonna sell, if your rent will go up, so I mean, this is very, very awesome, and something I think every community needs to get involved with.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you. Thank you to everybody that's helped me come this far. This is amazing.
That was the new homeowner, Stephanie Scott, in St. George. But I also had the chance to talk to Perry Kendall of the Habitat for Humanity New Brunswick about how the organization helps homeowners even after the dedication, because there's a lot, like we've seen in the New Brunswick Housing Corporation, the upkeep is a lot of ownership. I feel everyone who owns a home would know. And so here's my interview with Perry Kendall on how Habitat for Humanity continues to help homeowners on their path forward.
So the project here is we've built a single-family home, and this is part of our initiative across the province to provide safe, affordable housing for families who are ready to make that transition to affordable home ownership, but need that hand up, as we say, through our model and mortgage program to make that transition to an affordable home ownership.
Phenomenal. And how many homes do you help support in the province right now?
So we currently have just shy of 100 families in homes today, and we've had 6 families move into homes so far this year, and 4 more scheduled to happen here in the next couple of months.
And what are the limiting factors to growing the project to further communities?
Well, simply put, building homes is expensive. The cost of construction has never been higher. So the biggest factor is certainly is money, and as much as our model that's designed around partnerships, whether that be partnerships with government, partnerships with local tradespeople, and through a trades training program that we've started, we piloted this year and we'll be expanding next year. Simply put, the cost to build homes is expensive, and that would be the largest limiting factor. Second to that, but it's certainly I'll say a distant second, would be that availability of labor and tradespeople. But we still have some great partnerships. That's, like I said, that becomes a more of a distant second.
And can you explain to me a little bit how the municipality stepped up to make this opportunity possible?
Absolutely. So one of the first challenge is land, and having suitable land that meets some of our key criteria, which is about having, as I put it, a family-friendly place for a family to call home. So close to services, close to schools, and in the larger municipalities on bus routes, that kind of thing, and certainly with water and sewer services as well. So in this case, the municipality of Eastern Charlotte generously donated this property to help us to proceed with building this home here. It starts with the selection process, and again, identifying a family that's ready to make that transition to home ownership. But to help that transition be affordable, there's kind of three big differences in the Habitat mortgage model. Starts with there's no down payment. Tends to be the single biggest barrier for working families to save up for a down payment and move into home ownership. Secondly, there's no interest on the Habitat portion of that mortgage, so it helps them to pay that mortgage down much quicker. And thirdly, and I believe most importantly, is payments are geared to income. So at no point will a family ever be paying more than 25% of their gross earned income towards both the mortgage payment and property taxes. So that really helps to kind of manage through those ups and downs of life, of whether that be a layoff or hours reduction or those kind of things. We can adjust those payments when those things happen. And on the flip side, if a family, if the family income increases, then we can increase those payments and have that home paid for sooner. So it really helps families to be successful as a homeowner.
That was Perry Kendall with Habitat for Humanity in New Brunswick. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with This Week Uncut.
To me, as I just said, I think it's a shame that we are even standing here talking about whether or not a community-based organization that has been around for 17 years and has been running the island is now contemplating closing its doors.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon. We're going to hop over to Minister's Island now.
Drive across the ocean floor.
Yes. There's been some concern from the organization that operates the island in terms of its funding. And so Lucas was able to take a look at that funding model, get some data. Lucas, what were you able to discover about Minister's Island's funding model?
Well, the organization is called the Van Horn Estate on Minister's Island, and they deal with all the happenings, supplying money for all the workers on the island. And they were struggling because other provincial heritage sites were getting more money than them. And they don't really know why. For example,
would be
King's Landing.
Okay.
King's Landing got $3.6 million for the last operating season. Well, they got 100,000. And they had comparable visitors.
Right, so Minister's Island had what, 26,000?
23,000.
23,000, and King's Landing had 35,000. So not
so
exactly.
An 11,000 difference, but it shouldn't mean 100,000 to 3.6 million.
And the next comparable place was McDonald Farm, who had, what, 2,300 visitors, and they received $100,000.
Yeah, they also received $100,000, which has caused them to shut down for this operating season.
Wow. So when you look at that $100,000 that Minister's Island is receiving, also for such a big enterprise, when you go over there, it isn't just the estate, you also have the barn. There is quite a large staff and roster of volunteers who keep this organization going as much as they do. It's quite busy in the summer. What does that mean in terms of where they're able to go in the future, or how this season even plays out?
Well, they only have one full-time staffer year-round. That alone causes problems. But they want to add more things for people to do on the island. They want a corn maze, they want kayak tours, things like that. They want to expand. They want to advertise to more people. And as it is, they can't change around their exhibits, so they can't really provide a reason for people to come back.
And they want to incorporate, as Lucas mentions in his more in-depth online story in The Courier, is they want to include Indigenous culture. They want to make the island a place that has variety and diversity, but they're not able to do that under the current funding model. But John Kershaw did say that it would operate without the Van Horn estate, but that it would be out of local hands, most likely.
Yeah, they'd take it provincially, most likely to Fredericton. And that would cause them to lose the local voice that makes a lot of impact on the island. And they take the ideas that the community has and they apply it to the island, or to the best of their ability with the funding that they have.
And one of those things that they have done is restoration. Can you talk about what they've been able to restore as a group and an organization?
Well, recently they got funding to restore their roof for the Van Horn estate, but in the future, they will be restoring the old minister's house, which has been inoperable for 25 years. Right now it has some construction stuff on it. And they're hoping to open it as a live showing for the Loyalist times. So
such a special island too. I mean, when you look at what Van Horn created there, it really was this completely self-sufficient island that at the time is still revolutionary even today. When you think of this new desire for people to feel more self-sufficient that we learned throughout COVID, and now in the trade war, it becomes more and more something that I think people are keen to experience again in this era. But what Van Horn did back then was quite revolutionary, and I think that continues to draw a lot of visitors to our corner of the world. So I think that a lot of people would be surprised by how many tourists come directly to this region, particularly because of this incredible part of Canadian history that is located right here. So what a sad loss that would be.
Yeah, I talked to a woman named Faye Clow, and she talked about how she was here last year and she actually is returning. So some people do find that the island is nice to return to, not necessarily because they have new things on the island, they just enjoy the nature.
And we do have a lot of locals who become members of the island just to walk the trail. So I know that the fear is that without that funding there would be less reason to go to the island. But I think that the amount of people that are repeat visitors already showcases what a special place it is and why it needs protecting.
She also said that she wanted to explore more of the island, and she didn't really get the chance to. Because a lot of it isn't really open to the public as it is.
Okay.
Here are the interviews with John Kershaw and Faye Clow.
Right now our government funding is an operating grant, and just talking operations is $100,000 a year. They also provide capital money for things like the new roof, but the $100,000 goes strictly towards operations.
And how does that compare to other places?
Other venues, well, we know of one up in the Fredericton area that has the same number of visitations as us, roughly speaking, and they get $1.7 million a year compared to our $100,000 a year.
And has your funding changed?
When we were first established in 2008, the government gave us $33,000, even though a report said they should give us $1 million. Since then, it's gone up to the $100,000, but it's stayed there for a number of years, despite rising costs and things of that nature.
So you said rising costs. Has the visitorship also changed?
Visitations, we reached our peak just before COVID. In 2018, we had 26,000 visitors. We started to dip down at that time because we couldn't offer any new types of activities because of the lack of money. And then COVID hit, and then it dropped way down, and we're back up right now to 24,000, and our target is actually 35,000. So basically the lack of funding means that we can't invest in the island. We can't offer new offerings, we can't switch up our exhibits. So what that means is that visitors come to the island, they see what's here, and why would they come back? Our number of revisitations is quite low. So if we can't invest in new activities and we can't hire the staff we need, then over time it just means that we start losing money as an organization, which is where we are now. We're losing money and we simply are not fiscally sustainable. Really the number of tourists that are coming to the island come, especially if they're the first-time visitors. They're visiting the St. Andrews area, and we're part of that cluster of activities that people come to St. Andrews for. They'll come to the island, but the problem is they don't necessarily revisit. Why would they come back once they've seen the historical buildings and things of that nature? We need to switch up the exhibits, we need to have different activities, and we need to have more family-oriented activities, because this is not something that appeals to family, like children and things of that nature. We want to appeal to children. So that's where the lack of funding hurts us.
Okay, and what would the island do with more funding?
We have a 6-year business plan where we lay out the kinds of things that we want to do. So we need to basically, first of all, stabilize. So we need marketing, we need financial, we need the typical things that you need to operate. But as far as visitors go, we would like to do things, for example, on the agriculture front. We could have corn mazes, we could have reestablish the apple orchard that was here, we could have kayaking activities. There's all kinds of opportunities of that nature, particularly new exhibits. Right now, again, like I said before, you come to the island, you see what's here, why would you come back? If we had some additional money, we would change up exhibits all the time. We'd have Indigenous type of exhibits, Loyalist type of exhibits, Van Horn type of exhibits, and just our theme is innovation, so anything to do with innovation, we would offer different kinds of things so people come and see something different all the time. We received a donation from a private citizen last year of close to $100,000. Well, it was $100,000. The province then matched that. In fact, they gave us the $200,000 because the cost estimate to restore it is $300,000. So we actually have the capital money to restore that. So whether our organization is around next year or not doesn't matter. That minister's house will be restored. Right now we have one full-time staff person. So the board members are actually doing a lot of the work of staff, what staff should be doing. So we need a marketing person. We need a financial person. One of our board members does all of our financials along with the executive director. And we need somebody that chases money, and we need somebody that are groundskeeping people are part-time. So basically people to beautify the grounds and do the marketing for us, do the financials for us, track expenditures and revenues and things of that nature, and somebody that actually chases money. If you have to have money to chase money. When somebody says we want to invest in something, they'll say, well, you put 50 cents on the table. We don't have the 50 cents to put on the table. So they walk away. My favorite part is the volunteerism. I think what I like seeing is the community comes out and helps in so many different ways. When we had the big storm here a couple of years ago, it was a lot of community members came out and cleared the fallen trees. They come and they help with the exhibit and all of that nature. So the volunteerism is probably the thing I like the best about the island. And as far as what it means to the community, our organization, we like to say we're the voice of the community, and without us, the province might run it without the voice of the community. So we are simply part of that cluster. We're part of, along with Kingsbrae and the Huntsman Marine Science Center and the amphitheater, we are one of the star attractions that people come to see. And it will be here, even if our organization, the Van Horn Estate on Minister's Island, is not. If we have to close down for lack of money, somebody, the province is going to have to find somebody to run it. It's going to cost them more money. But they will find somebody to run it. So I don't want to cast fear into everybody that Minister's Island's going under. It's our organizations that's going under, and we just think that's a shame.
Okay, and is there anything else you'd like to add?
The biggest thing I want to add is that, to me, as I just said, I think it's a shame that we are even standing here talking about whether or not a community-based organization that has been around for 17 years and has been running the island is now contemplating closing its doors because of the lack of funding when you look around the province and see others getting so much more support from the province. I just think that's a shame.
So far we've just been in the house, and we just completed the entire house tour. And I really think it's a great spot. I was here last year with my husband, and this is my Aunt Shirley. Hi. And Shirley's from Fredericton, and she is 85 years old.
88.
Oh, she's aged since I last looked. Anyway, we're on this little trip to St. Andrews. Mm-hmm. She wanted to come here several years ago, and so we're here for 3 nights. Minister's Island is, I enjoy it because it has technology that did not exist for the rest of the population at the time that Van Horn added it here. We haven't seen today the barns, but I was there a year ago, and it's like amazing, like the freestyle units, and the fact that there's bathrooms every 2 or 3 bedrooms, the fireplaces, the fact that someone has decided to take over and try to restore it in the sense of allowing visitors to come, and the fact that you get to walk we didn't walk today, that you drive across the ocean floor.
Yeah, and have you guys been here before?
I have. Last year, my husband and I were here and told Shirley about it. Apparently he showed her all kinds of videos, and she said she wanted to come.
Okay, and will you be coming back in the future?
I might, yeah, sure. If I come to St. Andrews again, I'll be back here.
Okay, what made you want to come back?
Well, first of all, when we came the first time, we walked across the land, and I thought that we actually would have more access to parts of the island. And it's just a neat place.
That was John Kershaw, the executive director of the Van Horn Estate on Minister's Island and a visitor to the island, Faye Clow. We're going to be right back with a discussion about the Lorneville Industrial Park and what's looking ahead for next week.
Welcome back to This Week Uncut. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon. So residents in Lorneville are a bit disappointed by a decision made by the St. John Council. Now, Lorneville is on the outskirts of Charlotte County, but they are part of this region. So we took a look at what that project actually is. So the Spruce Lake Industrial Park is part of Lorneville, which is a coastal community, much like the ones in Charlotte County. And what the city wants to do is 1,500 acres of pad-ready land for development and use by industrial companies. That doesn't sit right with the residents there.
I feel like this is something that's definitely made headlines on different media outlets that I think a lot of New Brunswickers, regardless of what corner of the province you live on, have been following. And I know that a lot of the discussion with the residents had to do with this worry, in part that there's old trees in this area. So tell us a little bit more about what the concerns are of the people that live in Lorneville.
Yeah, so I spoke with the spokesperson for a group called Save Lorneville, which is Adam Wilkins, and he discussed a lot of the things that they were able to discover. You know, citizens who are engaged scientifically perhaps may not do this professionally, but understand the importance of the environment. They've mapped several water courses that are not available on current maps. They've discovered old growth forest, and they've discovered what they believe is the 3rd or 4th oldest red spruce in New Brunswick, 400 years old. And just a nod to the CBC, they did a great, beautiful story about Indigenous members going to visit that tree and what that tree means to them and to the earth. And so this is a very controversial situation to be dealing with, because it would mean the destruction and what they call the decimation of their coastal community.
Wow. Okay.
So, and we did talk to the general manager of industrial parks, and he said he feels like the consultation process has been open and transparent, and they're committed to continuing that. They've talked a lot about how they hope that the expansion will involve green industry, data centers, and things like that. But Wilkins said if the power source or the energy used to power these properties are not green, that argument falls apart. They sort of feel like the consultation is a bit of a sham. They feel like the council decided a long time ago they wanted to do this, and with the nation building projects in the back of people's minds wanting Canada to be independent, there's a lot of pressure for municipalities and cities to do this work.
Wow. So was the vote close at all? Where exactly did
it was unanimous?
It was unanimous. Okay. And what I should point out is though why it's not a council that we cover regularly. The reason why we cover Lorneville is because that is now part of what we call Fundy the Isles Lorneville. It used to be Fundy the Isles St. John West. It's one of our catchment areas, one of the provincial ridings we cover. So Lorneville is now in our neck of the woods in terms of coverage, but their council isn't one that we cover.
Right. Their council is effectively St. John Council. They would be considered part of St. John West. But it is important to know that the provincial government is doing an environmental impact assessment. Any findings that come out of that will be part of any future decision-making process. This is simply the rezoning process. So they've been allowed to rezone it, and that can happen independently of the EIA process. But there will be Indigenous consultation according to the government. The Save Lorneville group says that hasn't happened to date, but that will be part of the EIA process. And so there are many steps that need to be taken, and each project will also need to be vetted and go through environmental impact assessments.
Okay, so even in China, there's a lot of New Brunswickers just alone worried about the tree that is said to be the third oldest in the province. So that could still be something that is saved, or it's likely...
It's unclear about what that might look like, right? If their 1,500 acres is a lot, but the city, is suggesting that it's a fraction of the land that they could use or want to use. So we'll see what happens, but there's a lot of steps in the process before we get to where the finish line actually is.
Okay, well, I'm sure a lot of people will be following closely as this continues to go along. We appreciate you taking that extra effort to make sure you're following something taking place in Lorneville, something especially as important as this.
But it isn't the only thing that we're working on. I've been working on stories about wildfire resiliency. St. Andrews residents would be uniquely familiar with that experience. So many municipalities, I believe 32 according to the government, have applied for wildfire resiliency plans. So this plan will look at mapping. It will look at infrastructure, critical infrastructure that needs to be identified in the event of a fire. Charlotte County is unique. St. Andrews is in a peninsula. There's only two ways, in or out. So these are all things that are being considered as part of this plan. So I'm hoping to have a nice, robust story available for folks next week.
All right, well, I look forward to that. I know that if anyone followed Newsbreak 26 this week, we were looking ahead to Pendlebury Lighthouse. It's the second annual Lightkeepers fundraiser that's taking place August 14th. This will be at 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Windsor House. This is put on by the St. Andrews Civic Trust. So if you go to standrewscivictrust.ca, that's where you can purchase your tickets to this event. It was in our news this week. We spoke with Alistair Fox, who is the lightkeeper of Pendlebury. Pendlebury is the longest still standing remaining mainland lighthouse in New Brunswick. It's right here in St. Andrews. So what's exciting about this fundraiser is their last fundraiser from last year was meant to do repairs around the boardwalk, the railings that had all collapsed, a number of issues they had to address. They raised enough money, fixed it up beautifully. I go to Pendlebury Lighthouse every night. It's a very special place for me. So it's beautiful to see it standing tall as it is now, looking wonderful. But what they're doing is very proactive, is they want to put together a fund of $150,000 so that any future repairs, and as we've seen winter storms, which is part of the reason why they had to do those very critical repairs last year, because you were there covering some of the storms with us that happened the last couple of years while you were at Global News. That's how we became such good friends. But this is this proactive campaign to ensure they have funding for any future damage, especially as storms become more and more prevalent. And it's an art auction. So I know I'm talking a lot. It's a long monologue right now, but I want to make sure I get all the information out there. This is an art auction. At this point in time, you can still donate art to St. Andrews Civic Trust for the silent auction that will take place on August 14th. It's a Thursday at Windsor House. I've seen a number of the art pieces that will be there. There's ones by Rob Carney, some wood carvings, some beautiful paintings by Percival's a very famous name for prints in this area too. So Margaret Oppenheimer donated some of her beautiful towns. One's even made with some of the nails that were in Pendlebury, some historic nails. So beautiful art pieces to check out, and a really important fundraiser for an important part of just not just local history, but New Brunswick history. And you know how much I love lighthouses, so I could go on and on.
Yes, well, I taking in all of that information, I'm curious about these art projects. I'm fascinated by the restoration of lighthouses, and you're right. Storms are getting worse and worse and worse, and so how we build resiliency, like the wildfires, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we build resiliency into our shorelines and into the things that are along the shorelines are very important.
It's lovely too when you see the whole community come together to preserve something that we share with the rest of the world, but we think of it as a piece of our identity as well. And I should mention too, those tickets are $75, but you do get a $50 tax receipt with it. Comes with a drink ticket, as well as Noble by the Sea restaurant, which opened just this week in Windsor House, will be doing the catering for the event too. So it should be a good time. I will be there. I will wear my best Lightkeepers benefit outfit. I can only imagine what that will be, so I'm looking forward to that.
She has a yellow rain jacket.
It's true. Well, thank you for joining us on This Week Uncut. We look forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.